Oh, there we go. Kim. Thanks for recording it. Kim, you've got one. I'm not doing that yet. I'll tell you why in a moment, maybe in a bit. So, guys, settle in. And first off, I'm going to introduce to you someone very special. Now, while looking into creating and really sharing everything that we've come together on for the past year, I noticed I've always been the one facilitating. And now it's my time to be in the hot seat. And I really do get what it's like to come onto an interview. I've been, what about this? And shall I share this? And what about this? And what about this? Like, hi, Debbie Barnes. And so my little noodle has been noodling because we have such a special guest with us today. Some of you met her on Reinvigorate on Friday. Shana, please introduce yourself just a little bit because you're going to be the one taking the reins in a moment.
Yes, hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're here to celebrate Joe and Tirtha's 1 year anniversary. I'm very excited to be a part of this. My name is Shana Ayabe, and I am co-host of the podcast, The Exit Interview, where we interview individuals with nonlinear careers who have taken unique journeys and found their own definition of success. And I am also the founder of Grace Media Digital, a media and marketing company that sits at the intersection between marketing communications and AI. And formerly before that was head of marketing for a $100 billion asset manager, where I helped build and grow that firm $80 billion. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. See, this is someone who she's got her game on, let's call it that, shall we? So she is, and you'll see why we love her when we start creating this. Now, if you're not on mute, just put yourself on mute. Kim, I'm not sure if you're on mute, so if you can, or Michelle can help you, not a problem, as you get yourself settled there. So now, Tirtha, great to see you. Haven't seen you for a while. Thank you for being here. And if you just take a look around the room, just everyone give everyone a quick wave because it's been a hot minute. And it has been a hot minute since we've all been together. All right, and Judy and Brenda. Brenda, you're up, you're still here. Judy Winslow, you're here. Nice to see you, everyone. Okay, so here we go. So now this is all about celebrating Tirtha's first birthday. And in the run-up to this, in the last 24 hours, I had food poisoning. I ate some frozen fish that I will never, ever, if I could say ever a lot more times, eat again in my whole life. Even if it comes near me, I think I'm going to start having a full-blown war with the thing. You know what I'm saying? So I just had this experience where it was like, it was a moment. It was only until about 2 hours ago I could drink water. So now, why am I sharing that with you? Because that is a huge part of the whole story of what we're going to get into. And we start to not only celebrate Tirtha's first birthday, but celebrate the 5 years it took for me to get here, to even create something for you to get out of what I discovered for myself. So huge steps for me and for women. And as I'm lying there, can I just get a bit naughty? As I'm just kind of in between the bathroom and the bedroom, do you know what I'm saying? All I keep thinking is, I'm a miracle. I am a miracle. And we are. All of us, when we start to do this work for ourselves. So now, I don't want to alarm anyone because if I wasn't well enough to do this call, I now have the real freedom and power to say cancel it, which I never knew before as a woman in business. Do you know what I mean? How you would turn up to things, push through things, feel like you have to do it. It becomes a burden or an obligation. And I think a big piece of why women are not connected to their power is because sometimes we don't have the balls to own our power. So I cancelled today, as some of you know, I spent the whole day in bed resting. And then I thought to myself, this gives me a purpose to get well for. 7 o'clock, I need to be well. I'm not canceling this. And my husband, just so you know, sucks as a nurse. So it's been quite the journey. My mother had to text him what to do. She was more worried about me with him, and he's delivering an art show today. So it's been a very big stuff going in the Benishir household, okay? Okay, so with all that being said, if I need to pop out to the bathroom, this is when you ask each other any questions, and Shana will handle that. Okay, so you guys ready? All right. Okay, Shana.
Wonderful.
Ask anything you want. Here we go.
Yes. Well, I think the first thing is to acknowledge why we're all here. And I think the main reason for that is every single one of you has found that Joe's journey has inspired you in some way, shape, or form. And with that, you have felt in a deep understanding that you need to connect back with yourself. And so I think for most people, there's never one moment that kind of sparks that ability and understanding in yourself. And so let's take it back to the original origin story, Joe, of for you, when you first decided to go on your health journey of reconnecting with yourself holistically, not just fitness, not just mental, but holistically as a person. What was it that built up over time that finally gave you the aha moment to focus on yourself?
Yeah, well, I don't think it was a moment that gave me the aha moment. I just didn't have any choice. I was so burnt out. So some of you know this, some of you don't. So 5 years ago, when I completed my previous job, it was the first time I stopped working since I was pretty much 16. I don't have children, so career has been my focus. So I kept working and doing different careers, going to different heights of careers, and keep working and keep developing myself and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. So many careers, visas, countries, professions, jobs, you name it. To the point and the pinnacle where I was leading a course around the world, working up to a 120-hour work week with full-blown menopause. And I didn't know I had menopause. That was the first thread that I started to realize I am not in relationship with my body. And I've been living mind up to keep going, to do my work, do my business, do whatever it is. So when I stopped working for the first time, it wasn't burnout. It was like my battery was like a car battery and it was dead. And it just would not ignite again. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? You've had moments where you just, for some reason, the coffee doesn't work, the weekend doesn't work, the 1 week vacation doesn't work. There's just something ultimately that's depleted that no matter the strategy or technique or spa or massage, it's just not rejuvenating in the way that you know. So that was the first aha moment, was like, I'm in serious trouble here, serious trouble.
What was that feeling? What was that feeling that you experienced when you realized?
The feeling was, I remember exactly the moment. I walked in, there's a sun coming in here, but you guys are good. But I walked into one of my doctors at the time. He was recommended to me, Dr. Ernesto Fernandez. He's a brain doctor here in Sarasota and a somatic healer. And I sat with him and he looked at me and said, how can I help you? I said, I'm terrified. I have no vision for my life. I have no need to live. This just wasn't just energy. This was, I literally had no future for myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was about. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I didn't even want to do anything. So it was if I just kind of just had this experience of completely giving up on anything for myself. And he looked at me and said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm just about to be 50. And I said, I'm happy to go at 60, 10 years, just like hanging out with Pascal and peace out. I'm out of here. I've done my job. That was it. So if you can kind of get that space I was in, which was 5 years ago now, it's one of the most scariest experiences of my life, because that was never me. I was always a creator. I was always a visionary. I love being with people. I love working with people. I love everything about being. And my being was dead completely.
What was it that sparked you to realize that this was more than just, I need to focus on my mental health? This was bigger than that. What was it?
I started to see for myself that I had never really sat with myself, like a space to be. I had no relationship with myself. And I remember calling one of my friends at the time, and I'm like, what do I do? She was an amazing, she's a tantra healer and all this kind of stuff, right? So I was calling her going, what do I do to even begin to get myself sorted out here? And she goes, wow, this is going to sound very odd for you. She goes, I need you to sit in a chair and do nothing for 30 minutes. And at the time, that was like putting a pencil in my ear. You know what I mean? It was like, sit in a chair and do nothing for 30 minutes. How many of you are like high producers? Like, you just know what I mean, like 30 minutes doing nothing, no phone, no book, no nothing. And she goes, I just want you to do this one thing. Sit in the chair and stay in that chair and always be barefoot in the chair. Like, I'm barefoot right now, even with this dress on, I like got bare feet underneath it. And she taught me, sit in that chair until the only thing you're present to is your feet connected to the floor. Get yourself grounded. Grounded. That was the first piece. And then the other piece I saw is I had a way and an energy of creating and producing results that always had a stress behind it. Like a stress, like I've got to force a result. I've got to have a result happen. I'm going to make it happen. I know every which way on how to make a result happen, but the stress behind that result just got too much for me. And I could see it was just sucking all my energy as a high performer. So every time as I started to gently work with people again, anytime I could feel any slight bit of that stress, I had to shut my computer down and go sit in the garden and not do anything until I felt connected to nature in some way, to get myself here in a way, because I've never been fully embodied in my experience of myself. I was living my whole life through my mind.
You know, there's a type of characteristic that I think all high performing women have, and that is a little bit of addictive personality. We're
Yes.
addicted to the success. We're addicted to being able to achieve, achieve, achieve. And part of that starts to consume you in a way where you lose sight of really what you need and what you want beyond just being able to check another box. So when you were sort of what it sounds like, Joe, is hitting your own high performer rock bottom.
Yeah, completely. And not just high performing as in rock bottom, but high performance as a woman. As a woman. Now you've got to get, here I am now with you, all of you here, creating this whole new way to be as a woman. Full-blown menopause, never had children, always been about a career, but this is the first time in my life I feel more like a woman than I've ever been, ever, at 51. And I don't even know what that is for other people. So there's a femininity, there's a power in each of us that we don't even connect to because we have been shown one way to perform. which was never created by us. We live in systems and structures that give no space for the other side that we need to do to restore ourselves and create ourselves. So it's been a huge, huge learning curve. That's why the essentials, why I create the essentials, to start to get connected in a way that how can not only I create results, but this time create in a way that's in full relationship with myself.
Can you walk us through what that journey was that first year when you were learning to give yourself grace and love yourself again?
Yeah, I think it was the first time I've ever loved myself. Like truly loved myself. Because as a high performer, you kind of nailed it, Shana. If you're always looking for the next thing, then that fulfillment is always something outside of yourself. So when we start to connect to love, honor, and value who we are as women, that first year, I started creating a way for me to live life. It was literally me and 4 boxes. You know what I'm like, guys, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm about. I don't even know what I'm up to right now. I am so lost. And I couldn't see a path yet. So I created these 4 boxes, and one was my business performance. So that was one box, okay? So what am I currently working on? What am I out in my business? And that was like a box. The next box underneath was my well-being. How am I tending to my well-being? My spiritual well-being, my creative well-being, my physical well-being, my mental well-being, my financial well-being, because a big piece of what I started to really uncover when I sat with myself was all the fear that I didn't know was there. And I had to go through all the fear of being with myself in such an intimate way, to be at home with myself. So the next box was a space to be, which is all about tending to your environments, tending to your own environment, tending to your physical environment, tending to these spaces that give you space and real connection. Because burnout is not real, we're disconnected. And then the last piece for me was, where can my leadership get expressed in a community? I've always been taught that when I don't know what to do, get into community. Community is one of the places where you get connected to life. So I was here in Sarasota. I was working with sales teams at the time. I was coaching sales teams. And then I was taking care of who I was, with a healer, with a doctor, with a whole group of people, getting my energy back up, getting my vision back up, getting my passion back up, just getting who I was, and then creating a space to be. And then I created these events in Sarasota, which was to honor my coach at the time, who said, "You are the magic." And I created these events here. I didn't know anyone here. I had over 300 women in attendance come to my events, because all I said is, you are the magic. What's the story that you went through that nearly destroyed you, that now has become your living, your mission, your vision? And that became my first community expression out of the way I'm creating with you. And then what happened when I started to do that, which was, okay, what's my business vision? Okay, what's my wellness? Okay, my space to be. Okay. And it moved from being in community to being divinely led in community. That was when the first shift went to the feminine. How am I being divinely led to make a difference in community? And Bluebird was a huge success. I put it on the shelf. And then I started working one-on-one with executive women like me, the high performer before they really burnt out. And I did the same process with them. What's the business development you want, or what's the vision that you're creating, or what's the result you want? What's your well-being? Your well-being is the source of your ongoing power. What's your space to be? What's your connection to yourself, your environment, and others? And what are you being divinely led to create in community that maybe you haven't touched on yet? And I worked with executive women for, I think, 2 years, recreating what I've recreated myself. And then something told me, it was my mom, something told me, okay, Bluebird is complete. I now want you to create a leadership sanctuary. It was a message from the divine. I had no intention in doing it. And I was like, okay, what? And it was to honor how it first got created, as some of you know, was to honor women who have got to the top in male-dominated industries, who had got to the top and everything it took to get to the top, and now we're going to honor them. That was just the beginning of the sanctuary. And then with that one vision, I approached 10 women. Quite a few of them are here, the founding members, and I said, I have a vision to make a difference for women in corporate business. And they said, we're all in, we'll support you. And they are lifelong members to Tirtha, which has now become, as some of you know, a sanctuary for women who are willing to rebirth themselves and recreate themselves into this whole new expression, where you have a vision, your wellness is everything, you have space for yourself, and you're being divinely led to create something. And now the sanctuary holds women who have been immersed in this work with us for the past year. That's the story.
It's amazing. But Jo, when we talk about creating, while everybody wants to create, you have to make space for the creation. So in your journey, what was it that you had to let go in order to make space for that creation?
That's so good you're saying that, Shana, because I was just saying that to Michelle, is there's different natures and spaces of creation. And nature is always speaking to us. And sometimes we don't look outside of ourselves for any tips or wisdom. We think it all comes from here, or strategy. And I was in Costa Rica at a time, creating a space to be retreat for women to come and get connected and everything we just shared. And I was checking out the facilities, and I was staying in this hut. That's not called a hut. That's a very low down word. A posh hut. I can't remember the name of it. And villa, that's the word, villa. And outside of this villa was this spider. But this spider was not in a flat web. She was in a globe. And it was about this size outside of my villa. And she sat there in the middle the whole time I was there. I didn't see her move once. And I was just fascinated that this spider had created something real, obviously worked very quickly to make everything real, but she knew when she was ready to sit there in her own frequency, in her own creation, and let others come into her web. So maybe there's a new way to perform that women don't know yet. Maybe it's not from how we know it. Maybe it's about how we create. And sometimes there's different energies and spaces, like you're going to run around and create that web, like I've been doing the last 3 weeks. If you've been with me, you know we've been going guns a-blazing. And then I was saying to Michelle just before we got onto this call, I said, I think the spider needs to slow down and actually see what's coming to the web now. to engage with. So there's different navigations of creation in the space, because until you own all of it, something will always exist outside. But once you start to create, it's all your web, but you've got to be aware of it, which is what sensory leadership is having a connection from the divine to you to here, and a co-creation between all three. That's a lot. This is a big old conversation for anyone who doesn't know what the heck we're talking about. Shana, you're doing great. I'm so happy you came to Reinvigorate, so you got a taste for this. Otherwise, you'd be like, what is this woman going on about? But go on, keep going.
I'm curious as to talking about the connection with all the women that you have been developing.
Yeah.
You're building a connection with all the women here, but also you're building connections between the women who are here, whether or
Yes.
not that's with you or just between them. And so within building connection, how much of the journey is to pause and reflect and to also invest?
I think you've got to trust yourself to know that. I don't think that's something you can figure out. I think that is when you trust yourself and you trust what you're creating and you trust who you're creating it with. I think that's a big piece, Shana, is every woman on this call. I'm just looking to see who's on this call. Every woman I would trust. They've been invited into the sanctuary because of that level of trust. And with that trust, we have an honesty and a exploration with each other, not just to connect, but bring forth this whole new expression of what it is to be as a woman. The old one is redundant. Quick fixes on performance and burnout. Everyone knows it. Okay, why is it still getting worse? So a transformation is required. So it's not about the spaces or the strategy or any of that kind of space. It's being, as you said, with the right women to create something individually and something collectively.
How do you develop connection and creation whenever someone is struggling, perhaps, and needs that struggle to be pulled out? How do you encourage women, and how did you encourage yourself to be open with struggles in the beginning when connecting?
So good, because if you've noticed, we used to share a lot more online. And online is not really a safe space so much to share ourselves. You can share for your business, but to share any struggles or what you're going on with, do you really want to put that out onto Facebook anymore? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's more Facebook and Instagram is more social, more updates, more what are you up to, or maybe promotion, work, all that kind of stuff. So whereas women, do you find a space that you feel safe to share it? So that was the first thing Michelle, Brenda, and I did when we started to work on this, was we wanted this to be an online sanctuary. It's a sanctuary. It's not a membership. It's not a club. It's not a committee. It's not a this, that, or anything. It's a sanctuary because, Shana, women don't communicate anymore. And a lot of our work has been just getting women to realize that this is a place that they can communicate, number one. And then once you start communicating, I don't know about anyone else, once I start talking, I'm pretty good at coaching myself. You know what I mean? When you start talking it all out, and you're like, oh, that's what's going on with me. And then you'll find again, sometimes we don't even need coaching. We just need space to say what's going on with us. So then you've said it to someone. And it's like, okay, I'm now going to take this on. Isn't that right, Brenda? So there's quite a few of you. I have had to hug her. I've had to put my foot on the door and like yank it until some of them communicate. But when we do, then the shift starts to happen. So that's the first piece, is communicate, having a safe space to communicate. And then also the women here are extraordinary. Every one of them. They're a safe space within themselves. And this is a room of powerful women, leaders who just so care about each other. The community, I don't even want to call it a community. I don't know how to even make it better than a community. It's like, I don't even like the word sisterhood because it's too woo-woo for me, but it's kind of in that ilk. You know what I'm saying? We are a tight committee of women. And guys, do you think of a better name for what it is? But anyway, we're very close at this point. And then women coming in get included into that space. And I think once you start to really communicate everything that you're dealing with, and it's all said, yeah, tribe is another word, Amber. Now you're at the bottom. You've emptied it all out. You've got a choice. Keep living the life you have, or you're going to create. And this gives power to what you're going to create.
Let's take it back to the name, Tirtha, what it means and how it's in honor of your mother.
Yes. So Tirtha is a Sanskrit word which means where heaven meets earth. And I just looked at the state of the world. And if you know anything right now, you know the future is women. That's the new leadership coming out, it's the future of women. And I'm like, when did the world get like this? Now, with that, my mum, and some of you know this story and some of you don't, but my mum started working when she was 40. Vanessa, you've got an itchy ear. And and I know your mum's very special to you as well. Yeah, she's with you. So my mum started working when she was 40, and she had never had a job. My dad wouldn't let her work. And she divorced him, and she started working. And she started working as a civil servant. And she had lived with my dad for years, and my dad was in the Royal Air Force. So we moved every 4 years. Anyone else in the military, any of that world? So part of that is you're stationed and you move every 4 years. So my mother was always packing us up and moving us out, putting us into a new school, new friends, you name it, getting us settled, packing us up, moving us out. Like this continuation of her and her 2 children, and with my dad working. And she went through a lot of grievances doing that. There was a lot about that process that didn't work. So my mum starts working at 40, civil servant. By the time she retired, she was 65, and she was accountable for the home policy of all the armed forces in the UK. She worked with the Prime Minister and the Queen. She wanted to make sure no other woman suffered the way she did. And she wanted to go to the top of the whole thing to show that she could do it. Now, I call her the general, but she pretty much is a general. But I never saw that as a young girl growing up. I never saw the pain and suffering that she went through. I never saw her new career at 40 and all the work she went through. I just saw all the tiredness she had and everything as a working mum. She was a working mum. Now, as a young daughter, I couldn't get what a working mum was yet. And it got worse between me and my mum. I left home at a young age. We fell out heavily. We had a fight. And I pretty much didn't talk to her for many, many years. So when I created Bluebird, it was in honor of my mentor, Laurel Sheep. When I created Tirtha, it was in honor of my mother, my source, why I'm here. And then who knows what gets to create after this. So anyway, I just wanted it to be in honor of seeing my mom. And now it isn't so much about male-dominated industries, but it is about how we can create as women and get ourselves to the top of what we're creating and live and be in such a way we don't just get there, we stay there. So yeah.
Of the 5-year journey that you've had up to this point and making that decision to reconnect with your mother and making this in honor of her, which part of that 5-year timeline did you go back to her?
Immediately straight after. When I stopped working and I wasn't sure who I was, and I started to be with myself in a way that I've never been before. Like I actually sat with myself. I started to be with the stuff I avoided, or the stuff I hadn't dealt with, the stuff I hadn't experienced. I started to get in relationship with myself that I wanted a deeper relationship with my mother. I wanted to learn about what it means to be a mother. I wanted to learn about what does it mean to honor the source of who you are. I wanted to know more about me being her daughter. I'm her daughter, you know? And it's always been such a fight and a struggle that when I started to recreate myself, she's so proud of me. She's so proud of what we've created. She just kept telling me, how great I was. And I never heard that for many years with her. So in that process, we got closer, we got more honest. I go home and see her, we spend time together. But now we talk in a way that's real. It's real. So that's the thing that shifted. I think in the past, I was always trying to prove myself to my mother because I never thought she loved me. Now I'm deeply aware she loves me because she sends my husband text messages while I've got food poisoning, making sure you better get this, this, and this. But yeah, yeah, it's a shift in being. It's definitely a shift in being.
Everybody has their own wounds from their childhood that feeds into their behavior as an adult. How critical was it for you to address that wound and reconnect with your mother as part of you connecting back with yourself and now being here 1 year later after Tirtha was born?
Yeah, it got completed so I could be a woman who honors women. I could be a woman who honors my mother. How could I be a stand to create this whole new way to be as a woman without that relationship with the woman that gave me my life? So this isn't about connecting to my mum, we're going to go for dinner, have a nice talk, what do you want for Christmas kind of connection. This is a connection, I think, in the first time, everyone, I saw her. I saw her. I saw her struggles. I saw her pain. I saw what she did to get to the top of her career. I saw what I must have been like growing up with. I was not easy. And I'm still not easy. So, but she loves me so much. But it was a spiritual connection that was missing, that I hadn't had. Like I could really honor my mother. It sounds so simple, but it's not. And as women, one of the big pieces that we're out to transform inside Tirtha and the women inside of what we're creating is how do we love, honor, and value ourselves, the women around us, so we can birth and bring forth this new expression. And I think that's such great, Shana, because I think a big piece of that was me starting that with my mother. It was in honoring my mother, I started to honor myself.
For those who are maybe newer to joining the sanctuary and being interested in being part of the group and building deeper connections while being in this group, what is it that someone should focus on first to start reconnecting with themselves?
What have you given up on? There is a purpose in each of us, some of us multiple. And I think I remember exactly where I was. I was really dealing with the moment where I gave up on my own creativity. And Michelle and I, we just started working together. And I was like, what is it about my own power to create? There's something there that I'm not having power with, because you can create anything you want. Anything. And I'm like, what is it? And I remember living in my other house and seeing, I have a fine art degree. And my dad wanted me to be a management accountant. So I went off to art school, got my degree. He didn't speak to me the whole time. So I stood for myself, stood for my creativity. And then I came out of art school and then I was like, I've got to make money. So what did I go do? I went and was a management accountant. I gave up on myself. So as women, the first thing we got to look at is, what have you given up on yourself about? These little things lurking in the background. And when I saw that, I remember that night, it was a full moon. I went into the garden and I cried and I screamed my eyes out and my voice out, going, how dare I give up on me? And that was like 22 to 48. I lost that with myself. So that connection to yourself and what you want to create, that's the piece that needs to get connected again. So I don't know what needs to get connected with you to get you shifted back into gear. I mean, Vanessa, we've had to shift you a few times around. but it's not obvious to anyone listening in. It's a energy and conversation where it seems to happen. We don't work on it. This is not linear coaching. This is a space, it's a sanctuary in which things start to happen, things start to shift, you start to see, you get in communication, you take new actions, and before you know it, you're just moving and grooving in a different way, and you don't know how or why. That's why we can't explain what we do yet. Because it's transformational.
If you were sitting across from yourself of you 5 years ago, knowing what you know now, what would you tell her?
You are a miracle.
And looking at yourself 1 year from now, when you first started this, what would you tell her?
You have no idea what this is going to open up.
And if you can see yourself 1 year from now, what would you tell her?
Kiss my ass. Listen, we're all badasses, you know what I'm saying? All of us. And we play it small. There's nothing to be small about. And I think we've got timid. We don't even play anymore. We play safe. We don't express ourselves. We don't share about what we've given up on. We stay in jobs, relationships, situations, all this stuff that just doesn't work for us. And we know it. Why? Because you lost a little bit of your edge. And women need their edge back. And we need places to practice our edge. We might go into life and suck at it and make a massive mess. But this sanctuary is a place where you come back, you get in communication, we talk out what happened in your job, what happened in this, what happened in that. You get what you need, you go back out there and you create what you're divinely led here to create. Every one of you is a miracle. And it's time for us to recognize that in ourselves.
How do you make sure that when you're creating, you're not unintentionally creating back to what you were before you started to reconnect with yourself?
It's different. You have a discernment. So now, if I've been going down this track, and we've been talking about race cars recently, okay? So if I've been going down this track with my foot on the gas and I'm just driving as fast as I can go, that has a familiar feel to it. I know the car, I know the drive, I know the speed, I know where I'm going. I might see different trees on the way, but there's a feel to it. That way of creation is not creating. It's what you referred to at the beginning. High performing, I call it the road to nowhere. It's the road to nowhere. You're going to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You have aha moments, you have this, you have success, but you just keep going relentlessly on that path to nowhere, the road to nowhere. So then, if you've done all this work, which is this design of the essentials and the space to be spaces, to get out of that car enough and be in relationship in a way of yourself, you know when to press down, you know when to take the foot off, you know when to take a pit stop, you know when you need to get off the track completely, you know how to perform in relationship with whose energy, your energy, including the fear, the anxiety, or the stress. As soon as those three hit me in any way, I'm in the wrong car. I am in the wrong car. So that's always the first sign is, am I anxious, stressed, or fearful? If I am, okay, go sit in the garden, turn off my computer, call a friend, do what you need to do. Stop. Time out, people. Take a second. And don't do anything until you can feel the feet on the floor. Don't do anything. If you have to cancel meetings, you have to cancel meetings. For me, a biggest way for me to get if I feel like I'm going too far outside, because I'm creating like crazy right now. So I know sometimes I can go fast, but I've got to watch. I stay in my car, not that old one. So a way I stay grounded is, if I don't feel grounded, I start cleaning my floor. It's a physical practice to get me out of here into this to feel grounded, because if you're highly creative, it takes a lot to stay grounded. Now, some people don't go to a higher state of creation. We've got to move them up a gear because they're too grounded, they're too practical, they're too analytical, they're too fill in the blank. So anyway, so you've got to recognize yours. But once you've done that enough, you know which space you're in. You just know which space you're in. And then, you know what the biggest secret is? If you can't laugh about it, you're done for. We've got so significant. We have got so significant. Why is my life like this? Really? When did we get so significant? So That's the next essentials coming up. The one after the energy one is all about play, to get everyone back up into a play state, a lighter state, to create. I mean, literally, I've been in bed for the last 2 days with food poisoning. I'm able to drink water as of 6:45 p.m. But I'm lying there going, this is the best cleanse ever. You know what I mean? You kind of just got to roll with stuff right now. But that playfulness is missing. The fun of it is missing. The joy of it is missing. So, okay, that didn't go the way I was planning. Oh well. You know what I mean? But it's just got a little too serious of late. So I don't know if I answered any of your question on that one. So
What is your, speaking of driving in a car, sometimes you're in someone else's car and you need to make sure that you get out of the car when you need to get out of the car.
yes.
Part of that is giving yourself permission to let go of the expectations of others.
It's so hard, isn't it?
What was your approach and what has been your approach for your journey to be able to do that?
Crash and burn, baby, every time. Oh, people are tricky things, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what like someone's going to be like. You're like, okay, you seem awesome. It's like one time in New York City, I'll never forget this. This is before Pascal, and my boyfriend at the time had this big SUV blacked out car, right? And I was uptown and he drove, he was like, I'm going to come pick you up. Comes, picks me up. So his car's there. I'm like, great, he's there. So I climb in this car, open it up. I look next to him. It's not him. It's some random dude sat next to me in this car. I'm like, you're not him. Like, you're not him. I'm in the wrong car. So I get out the wrong. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes you just get in the wrong car. It's not about analyzing it. Get your ass out of that car as quickly as possible is number one. And then number two, you just gotta slow it down sometimes with people. That's been my biggest lesson of late. Sometimes I get so excited that I want to create with anyone and everyone. And I think as I get older, maybe I need to hang out with you for a while before I get into that car with you. And I've only learned that recently, and I'm still learning. I think that's going to be a forever learning thing. And sometimes people just realize they don't want to get in the car with me because I can go really fast, and they were not ready for it, which has happened to a few of my co-founders. So it goes both ways. I'm an angel in a car, honest.
Joe, if there's one message that you want everyone on this call to walk away with, what would that message be?
You can do it. Anything. You can. Anything. And you're not alone, and we've got you.
I do want to see if we can open it up for some questions.
Yeah, Michelle's in charge. Yeah. Choose nicely, Michelle.
Yeah. Would anybody like to ask a question?
Yeah, Amy.
So, what are you most excited about next?
Well, out of the 4 pieces, we've been focusing on our businesses or what we've been at work on, like your careers are all starting to fly, or what you've newly created yourself, Amy, your new evolution, right? So that piece is in. We've been working on your well-being. Space to be is in. We've not yet really touched into what you're divinely here to create yet with community, which you could say is legacy, which you could say is making history. And I think that is a 2027, that's next year, right? 2027 opening that I don't want to touch yet because we've got so much going on right now. But I think once all the members are here, we can actually really start to get to work with why are we here in a way that we've never done it before. So I'm really excited that I'm going to have an army of women creating. That's one. Who else has a question? You guys are so shy. You let me hang out here? Where are you guys? Where's the backup for the bus?
I do have a question for you.
Yeah, go on.
Everybody else has another question. You've mentioned that you don't have children, that your career has been your life.
Yeah.
If you did have a daughter specifically,
Yeah.
what would you want to make sure that she knows?
Well, it's funny. I was pregnant with a daughter and I lost her. This is way back, and I named her, and I have a spiritual connection with her. Her name is Scarlet. And what I would want for her and for all daughters is for them to know that they are the most powerful beings in the world. Period. That's it. We are the creators. We give life to life. And it's time to reposition where we stand. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So really, and her being in a world where that's recognized, like this is a new conversation. There's no fighting for this. It's ridiculous that we have to fight for who we are versus just be who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Scarlett.
Yes, Amber.
And then we've got Tirtha as
Hello,
well.
hello.
Hi, babe.
I'm just listening to you tonight and I am like, yep. I woke up this morning and all day I'm like, I'm retiring, I'm moving on. And I've been thinking, this has not been a career. It's been my calling. Like, it's so clear to me that I've been called to be an advocate for children, I'm a speech pathologist for those who don't know. And when you mentioned legacy, I was like, oh, that's where my mind's been all day. So it was kind of, it was a signal for me from the universe that I was on the right path. I've been working with Joe for almost a year now. It's been an evolution. I don't recognize myself. Today, I was offered to speak at a women's wellness event, and the old me would have been like, absolutely not. And today I was like, absolutely, with my 2 feet on the ground. The other thing, things just keep popping up and like opportunities keep coming up. Even while I was sitting here for the last hour, somebody was like, we need, would you like to supervise this? We're looking for somebody. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been dreaming about that. I've been saying I'm a supervisor. I want to supervise new young therapists. The other thing that you said tonight, when you mentioned your daughter, I have a daughter who's 23 and I want to know, Joe, and we have talked about this, about a little project in the future where we can speak to young women to help give them the wind underneath their wings so that they can have these skills at a younger age. They could really recognize their worth. So that's my question, Joe. I have that right here, our little conversation about North Star. In fact, I love the name North Star and I might steal it for myself, but there's a project out there for those young women called North Star. Right, Joe? Yes.
Yeah, and I think you're going to be the champion for it.
I love this conversation.
Yeah, but Amber, I think you're going to be the champion for it because just for those of you who don't know, I'm just checking the time. Another member asked me to do a reinvigorate workshop session for her daughter and her 2 best friends, 23, 24, 24. And I get onto this call and they're seriously checking me out. Like, who's this one? You know what I mean? I'm in my 50s, they're in their 20s. I was more nervous about this workshop than anything I've done in the past 2 years because I'm like, how am I even going to get connected and related with these ladies? So we did it, and we had this workshop. I'm not going to go too much into the workshop, but they discovered boundaries, and they discovered non-negotiables, and they discovered in reality what would it look like to put myself first. None of this, no one's ever talked to them about. And I was like, all right, great, right? So I think that went well. And the mother, Kim, messaged me. She goes, I don't know what you did with Maya and her friends, but you now have the biggest fan club. They adore you. And they said that was the best thing they've ever done. So there is something there to emerge, Amber. We will pull it. I just haven't pulled it yet because I've been so focused on getting Tirtha up and running. And once this baby is set, I think it's going to give me and us more room to create some legacy projects.
Thank you. I love that idea.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah, Tirtha, you have a question.
Hello, I recognize we're probably at time too, so anyways, it's good to
Make it a short question, I'll go for it in the time we have.
yeah, it's good to see you, and I was glad to catch this tonight. And I'll reach out to you separately too. Yeah, like what if you don't know where to start? I mean, I'm not going to give context, but what if you just don't know where to start? You know, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, you're on the right path if you don't. Creation it won't come from what you already know. So if you don't know where to start, that's great. And what worked for me, I don't know if it would work for you, but what worked for me was to get into community and start creating with community until I knew more about what I wanted to do. That's why I did those events. I'm like, I have no clue what I'm doing. So I'm going to start doing stuff with community to build that muscle of creation. So not only was I building creation, I discovered more about me as I'm doing it. So that was my first starting point, Tirtha, because I had no clue either. I was like, what?
Yeah. Thanks,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, speak soon. All right. I think it's time. Shana? Where'd she go?
She dropped out. She's coming right back. She's
Oh, okay.
joining.
No problem. Here she
I'm
is.
here.
Shana, you're
Hi.
here, no problem. So should we wrap up?
Yes. So sorry about that. I got kicked off. So Joe, as we come to a conclusion here, celebrating Tirtha's 1-year anniversary, what is the number one emotion and thought that people should all walk away with tonight and think about and reflect on as they enter another year as being part of this community?
Yeah, awesome. Ladies, and if you've not joined yet, come and talk to me. So I want you all to reflect on this. Are you going to go up a gear or down a gear? I don't mean in speed. Okay, are you going to go up a gear or down a gear? Because we've just done so much work to get you into the space of creating that we now want to anchor and start giving life to what you're creating. So we've got to keep breathing it. So, oh yeah, which is the whole point, Shana. Thank you. Because I'm leading the 21-day vision challenge, which is after last month, after Reignite. So we've got something sparked up. This month is all about becoming. So what are you breathing life into is going to be the 21-day vision challenge, okay? What are you breathing life into? What are you keeping existing? What are you nurturing? Because there's enough going on. We don't need to create anything. We've got to keep what we've created alive. And as Dawn said, level up, baby. So it's time to go up, but it comes from loving up what we're creating. That's the 21-day vision. Divinely said, Shana, because I forgot I was doing that. Thank you.
Amazing. And for those who are joining today who want to be a part of the sanctuary and connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Okay, experiencetirtha.com, and you can connect to me and email me directly. And Dawn's put a file in the meeting. She shared, oh, thank you, Dawn, you put it in this meeting. We'll put it into the links. And otherwise, we're on socials as well, which is actually Bluebird Evolution on Instagram and LinkedIn and all the regular places.
Amazing.
Okay.
And As a final note, I just wanted to say, Joe, there's one thing that I've, in our short time knowing each other, have also taken away from you, which is the idea of legacy. And legacy is about leaving behind a history, but it's also about building a history for the future. And so
Yes.
thinking about legacy as the future now, as well as something that you're leaving behind. So thank you for connecting all of us here today.
No, that's awesome. So we're going to leave on that note. Isn't Shana amazing? Didn't she ask you just like, yes, I knew you would love her. So Shana, before we go, thank you so much for being the one brave enough to step in and create with me. It takes a special human being to be able to do that. And number two, this is really what we're stepping into now. All right, ladies, are you ready to create history? On that note, happy 1 year, Tirtha.
Happy 1 year.
Happy 1 year. Bye. Bye.
Happy birthday. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Shana.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you all for joining.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks for staying up, Brenda. Bye. Bye. Thanks for being here, everyone. You guys are the best. Thank you, Shana. I'll
Thank
reach out to you to
you.
book talk. Bye.
Great.
Bye. Bye. All right, Michelle.